This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball. This afternoon from Busch Stadium, game number 2, the Arizona Diamondbacks and the St. Louis Cardinals. Bundle up, it's cold, and we've got baseball today. Jim Hayes is here. That's Tim McCarver. I'm Dan McLaughlin, and welcome to Cardinals baseball. An off night for the Redbirds last night. Now it's game number 2, and let's see if the bats can't get going.
If the bats can't keep going, the Cardinals have faced some tough pitchers. Noah Syndergaard, Jacob deGrom, and on Thursday night, Robbie Ray. And the Cardinals have struck out a lot. As a matter of fact, 27% of their at-bats have been in strikeouts, and that's not good.
Does not get any easier today. Zach Greinke going for Arizona. Mike Owaka going for the Cardinals. How much will we see the pen? It's been good as of late. The studio has that when we come back. history with a record of 6-1. They spoiled the opening night for St. Louis in game 1 of this series. Today, bundle up, it's game number 2. Michael Wacha gets the call here this afternoon, his second start of the year. Wacha, Greinke, Diamondbacks, Cardinals, baseball coming up. Is brought to you by Budweiser. Wherever legendary MLB moments happen, Budweiser will be there. And by Chevrolet, the #1 selling brand in the St. Louis area. Find yours at your Mid-America Chevy dealer. It is a cold day here in St. Louis. 38 degrees, wind chill. We think it's potentially under 30. We're finding out as we go along here today. But you get the idea. It is very cold, and Michael Wacha makes his second start of the year.
Best place to be is in the sun. The players will be the warmest folks in the stadium.
Hyundai pitch arsenal on Michael Wacha. The fastball, very good changeup, an improving curveball. He's throwing that a little bit more, did that in spring training. First start was against the Mets, took the loss 4 2/3, 5 hits, 4 runs. David Peralta, Ketel Marte, Paul Goldschmidt, then Pollock, Descalso, Owings, Dyson, Mathis, and Greinke. Torey Lovullo, second year in Arizona. Diamondbacks saw a 24-game improvement in the win department. And he was the National League Manager of the Year a season ago.
And should have been.
Days like this, who benefits the most and who suffers these cold afternoons?
I think pitchers benefit the most. If they can grip the ball, they have an advantage.
And the first pitch is popped up left side and out of play by David Peralta.
Dan, we were talking to Mike Matheny about that and saying that the umpires should be more liberal in perhaps allowing pine tar on days like this, because that ball can be awfully slick. Mike said it's almost like a cue ball when you throw it.
Said if you've ever played pool, it's a cue ball and it's like having the chalk on your fingers and gripping that, and imagine trying to throw that.
Yeah.
Pitch that misses in, and it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Peralta led off at the tail end of last season. They picked up JD Martinez now with the Boston Red Sox, and he became a leadoff man, and a good one. Hit .336 in the final 2 months of the regular season, being the leadoff man, and that's where he's at today. 3 balls, 1 strike on David Peralta.
Michael Wacha probably thinking no walks to start off a ball game. And sure enough, he wants another ball.
Mike also telling us that it's pretty much just common knowledge on a day like today, the pitchers are allowed to go to their mouth, lick their fingertips to get a grip of the baseball. Normally they would have to be off the mound to do that, then wipe it on the pant leg and then go back on the pitching rubber. A leadoff walk, and let's take a look at the Cardinals defense presented by Dobbs. Ozuna, Pham, and Fowler in the outfield. Carpenter, DeYoung, Wong, and Martinez on the infield, and Yadier Molina is behind the plate.
How many times have you said that? 14 years?
A lot of times. Man, oh man. And sometimes I mess up because I'm so used to saying, and Yadier Molina, but wait a minute, who's that behind the plate? Here's Ketel Marte, the switch hitting shortstop. You made the point that on opening day you spoke to Tony La Russa, who was here for the festivities, and he said this guy is a player, big time.
He loves Marte. I was next to Tony in the Hall of Fame group on the field, and Tony just could not say enough good things about Marte, obtained by Arizona from Seattle last year. Switch hitter and a good one.
Signed a 5-year extension for $24 million. 2 options after that. I think Tony La Russa deserves some credit for the ball club that we see on the field for Arizona. He acquired many of the players that you see in the lineup. Tony now with the Boston Red Sox and working with Dave Dombrowski. Here's the 0-2. Hit in the air. Left center. Pham with the mask on makes the catch. And that's the first out.
A little unusual to see Michael Wacha with that leadoff walk, because the one thing he loves is the mound here at Busch Stadium. He pitches very well, a 3.51 earned run average last year. And on the road, not quite as good. He loves the Busch Stadium mound.
Those are your Toyota keys to the game. The other key was about the strikeouts, and the Cardinals offensively put the ball in play.
Yeah, they have faced some tough pitchers, but they need to put more balls into play, no question.
Paul Goldschmidt 2 for 22 to start the year. An .091 average, no home runs, and he's driven in 2. We're doing the research as we speak, and we think that this is the coldest ball game ever played for the Cardinals here in St. Louis. Now going
certainly
back to,
with the wind chill factor, I would think.
Oh yeah. I was thinking that maybe there were some playoff games or World Series games that would be cold. You never know what you get in October in St. Louis.
Early April is usually tougher than early November or late October.
Give the fans credit that have come out here today, and those that are in the shade in particular. They love their baseball here in the Gateway City. There's no doubt about that. 3-1 the count. There was some talk before this year that there would be a baseball that would have a grip to it already kind of built into the ball, if you will. And that's still being tested. The minor leagues, it was tested a little bit in spring training. The home team still rubs up the baseballs with that Mississippi mud, and there's a walk to Goldschmidt. Mud is called Lena Blackburn Original Baseball Rubbing Mud, and it comes from a secret spot in South Jersey off the Delaware River. And you think I'm kidding, and I'm serious.
Yeah. Lena Blackburn. They've had a monopoly on that mud since the early 1900s. 2 walks of the first 3 batters. Thing about Waka, he's not a ground ball pitcher, so the double play is remote in situations like this.
A.J. Pollock. And again, it's worth repeating. I mean, just trying to get a grip on the baseball, very, very tough for everybody. On a ground ball, a fly ball, somebody tagging up to throw the baseball, it's hard to do.
Sure.
But certainly for a pitcher. And the 1-0. Broken bat and a base hit into center field. Here comes Peralta. He'll score. Bobbled a bit by Tommy Pham. No play anyway. It's an RBI base hit and 1-0 Arizona. Pollock has driven in 5 this year.
Allen Lorenz Pollock IV can hit, and he can play. Good defender. Tommy Pham will not be credited with an error on that play, as Goldsmith was going to third anyway and would have made it. Ball not hit hard enough to Pham in center.
Here's Descalso on base 3 times in game 1. Batting .250 with 1 home run and an RBI. Cardinals as a team allowing over 14 base runners per 9, and that's the 2nd highest in baseball. Two balls and no strikes. There's Mike Maddox bundled up, Cardinals pitching coach. And the 2-0 is pulled foul.
The further behind you fall, if you're a pitcher, the more like batting practice it is to a hitter, because hitters know what's coming. Obviously, in batting practice, there's no deception, and certainly no deception as Jose Martinez is probably looking at a white shirt or something illuminating next to the Diamondback dugout. It appears, and first base umpire Tim Timmons going to Mike Winters, the crew chief, and we'll find out what it was. Looks like Jose is blinded by the light of some kind. That white coat, maybe.
Looks like he just said something to one of the folks in the media in the camera well there, maybe something reflecting off the camera or piece of equipment. Two balls, 1 strike on Daniel Descalso. Outfield is straight away. And a check on the runner, and back in safely is Pollock. Two and two. Who would have thought years ago you'd see Daniel Descalso on a very good team batting 5th? Not to say that he's not a good player, he is, and a championship type player, but batting 5th?
Batting 5th as a quasi-regular because of injuries to other Diamondbacks.
That pitch down. We saw a ton of 3-ball counts on both sides Thursday night. Adam Wainwright, Robbie Ray. Ray very good. And already the third 3-ball count of this game. Let's see if they want to send the runner Pollock. The 3-2 pitch. There he goes, and it's grounded foul.
Diamondbacks, one of those teams that are aggressive on the bases. We saw that on Thursday night. We also saw Chris Owings picked off in the 8th inning of that game.
Chris Owings originally not in the starting lineup. Nick Ahmed was going to be at short. Marte shifting to second, but Ahmed dealing with some type of flu bug, so he was a late scratch. 3-2 pitch, runner goes again, and that's a ball inside. 3 walks in the inning, and the bases are loaded.
One thing you hate to see if you're a Cardinal fan is Mike Maddox out there in the 1st inning. But Michael Wacha has been wild, walking 3, as Dan said. Only 1 hit in the inning, but the Diamondbacks are set up to have a bigger inning than just 1 run.
Tim, right now he cannot locate really any pitch, but in particular his breaking ball is all over the place.
Yeah, and changeup. That includes a changeup too. Really with everything.
Now the base is loaded, and Chris Owings off to a very good start. Goldschmidt, Pollock, Descalso all aboard for Arizona here in the 1st with 1 out. And ball 1. Went 3 for 3 with a double. 2 runs scored on Thursday night, the home opener. 2 balls, no strikes.
Michael Wacha's not even close.
Nope.
That's the thing. Not 1 ball that's been called by home plate umpire Mike Winters has been just off the plate.
Good numbers for Owings with the bases loaded. 2-1. The 2-1 pitch. 2-2. Wacha's career high in walks is 5. It was back in 2014 on a 51-degree night in New York. The 2-2 pitch. Pulled foul.
Chris Owings helping Wacha out on that one. That ball way inside.
Owings a very versatile player. Infield today, but he can play center or right field. As we mentioned, they lost out with J.D. Martinez, Steven Souza injured. Yasmani Tomas and his $13.5 million salary sent to AAA, and there's a swing and a miss.
Boy, did that help.
Ooh.
Michael Wacha thinking, I'll take it in a second. High fastball. Owings going after it. May have been out of the strike zone, but close. Down on strikes. First strikeout for Wacha, and a big one.
Here's Gerard Dyson. Well, because of the injuries of the Diamondbacks with 2 key players, Dyson getting a chance to play every day.
Yeah, Dyson with only 4 home runs, and to have played as long as he's played, 11 years with Kansas City, first year with the Diamondbacks. He has a tough time with that high fastball. Cardinals want him to hit the ball in the air.
Puts it on the ground, backhanded by Martinez. Waka to the bag. Diamondbacks strand the bases loaded. They do pick up an RBI base hit by Pollock. 1-0 Arizona. The Cardinal lineup with Fowler, Pham, and Carpenter, then Ozuna, Martinez, and Molina, DeYoung, Wong, and Waka. This is the 5th time that Mike Matheny has used this lineup. Last year, Cardinals did not use any single lineup more than 4 times. Think about that.
Huh.
One of the best in baseball, 34-year-old Zach Greinke took a no decision in his first start against Colorado. Pitched well with 9 strikeouts and no walks in that game.
Only run he allowed was a home run in his 5 2/3 innings. Yeah, he is one of the real quality guys around.
And a strike to Fowler. Take a look at his Hyundai pitch arsenal. The fastball, slider, good changeup, very good curveball as well.
Uses all his pitches. Not a real hard thrower. 87-mile-an-hour fastball, the Fowler, to begin with.
Think about Greinke too. Terrific athlete. Fields his position extremely well. At the plate, can handle the bat. Fowler hits it off the end of the bat. That'll carry out to center, and the catch is made.
Talk about an athlete after we look at the defense of the Diamondbacks.
Around the horn, presented by Dobbs, Peralta, Pollock, and Dyson. The infield, Descalso, Marte, Owings, Goldschmidt. Behind the plate, Jeff Mathis.
When Zach Greinke was 8 years old, he was a tennis prodigy. I mean, think about that. He gave up tennis for baseball. He chose the right sport. But I mean, they were talking about him turning professional, and perhaps by the time he was 15, 16 years old. But that's how good an athlete Zach is. Found a different racket, says Tom Meade.
Popped up by Tommy Pham. The catch made for out number 2.
Our director, Tom, says that Zach Greinke found a different racket. I like that. Thank you.
Last year he was 17-7, ERA just above 3, 215 strikeouts, and opponents only hit .230 against him. One of the Cardinals that's had decent success against the right-hander at the plate, and that's Carpenter, 8 for 24 with a pair of home runs.
You notice how Greinke and all pitchers like him stay ahead. Strike one, strike one, strike one. And when he falls behind, you'll often see breaking balls. So the hitters refer to pitchers like that as a guy who pitches backward. No, he doesn't. He actually pitches the way guys should. When hitters are ahead in the count, they look for a fastball. So Greinke throws a breaking ball.
Could throw all 4 pitches for strikes.
Yes.
And behind in the count.
That's right.
Diamondbacks put a shift on the right side. The 1-2 pitch to Carpenter. And that's a base hit into left center. It's now 9 for 25 against Greinke.
That's an area that you don't see balls hit by Matt Carpenter too often, right? That's a little left center slice.
Just thinking that.
Speaking of tennis.
A little backhand maybe, right?
Yeah. Ball off the end of the bat. But Matt will take it. And another tough cookie coming up for Greinke. I didn't realize that before the notes came out today about Osuna.
3 home runs.
Yeah.
Against the right-hander of the Diamondbacks. And a strike. Kubota power stats with Marcell Ozuna at the plate. Good numbers, 364 the average, and 4 hits, 3 of those home runs. The 0-1. Get out of play, nothing in 2. Zach Greinke over 2,200 strikeouts in his career. As a matter of fact, he has over 1,000 in both leagues. He's one of only 12 who have ever done that in the history of the game.
Pitching primarily for the Kansas City Royals early in his career to garner those 1,000 strikeouts.
0-2 slider fouled back. Originally the 6th overall pick all the way back in 2002 by Kansas City. Parts of 7 years with the Royals, parts of 2 years with Milwaukee, 3.5 seasons with the Dodgers, and now in his 3rd season with Arizona, signed a 6-year, $206 million deal. The 0-2.
More than you make.
That's hard to believe. It's not supposed to happen. And for those of you that don't know, Tim McCarver has become my agent. Here's a 1-2.
I need the 10%.
At least,
need
right?
The extra 10%.
You've earned it putting up with me. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Ozuna. Base hit. Out to shallow left. Carpenter stops at second base. So a pair of 2-out hits.
That looked like a cut fastball, maybe a slider in a good location. As far as away from Osuna, a little bit up, but Marcell, as we said, hitting Greinke very well.
It's back-to-back 2-out, 2-strike hits. And here's Jose Martinez. December 13th, 1987. St. Louis Cardinals against the New York Giants at Busch Stadium 2. Temperature 34, wind chill 28. The Cardinals won that game 27-24. The football Cardinals. That's the last time a Cardinals team played in this cold of weather in St. Louis. I was probably at that game.
Stormy Bidwell had the team, I suppose.
Yep, Bill Bidwell had it. Moved to Arizona. Son now runs the team.
Really a lot of fun in the 60s.
Eric Coryell for a while.
Yeah.
Neil Lomax threw for 190 yards that day. Stump Mitchell at 100 yards on 26 carries. Base hit into center. Carpenter will score, and this game is tied, and Ozuna goes from first to third.
That's one thing you don't see too much of. A Cardinals 2-out rally, but with 2 outs and nobody on, 3 straight singles, and another RBI for Jose Martinez, his 5th of the year. Single by Carpenter, then Ozuna. Carpenter scoring on a ground ball base hit by Martinez.
And I'd like to see Ozuna going first to third.
Yes, sir, baby.
Here's Yadier Molina batting .259 with a team high 3 home runs. Loves to be aggressive early. Looks at a ball and a block nicely done by Mathis.
I think Yadier Molina, you could say that he is the most dominant first ball hitter in the National League. If it's near the strike zone, he's hacking.
I used to sit at old Busch Stadium too and freeze and watch sometimes decent football, but never, I said coming away saying that was great football.
Sometimes we would, in the latter part of the season, be in the same elevator as Jackie Smith and marvel at his playbook. And I thought from a catcher standpoint with the Cardinals, and I used to tell Jackie, who was just a wonderful guy, still lives in the St. Louis area. I'd say, Jackie, I'm glad we don't have to fool with all that stuff. But I do have pitchers to put up with, and you don't.
That's right. The Hall of Famer Jackie Smith, great tight end.
Right.
Here's a 1-1 pitch. Ground ball that's hit to short. Force play at second. Cardinals tie it up with a 2-out RBI hit from Jose Martinez. Carpenter scores 1-1 after 1. Top of the second, 1-1 on a cold day here at Busch Stadium. Let's check in with Jim Hayes.
And the Cardinals know they have to play in the cold weather. That doesn't mean they have to enjoy it. Dexter Fowler told me he once played in 17-degree weather when he was a member of the Rockies. He said the cold affects everything. The key is to try not to think about it. Tommy Pham, who's from Las Vegas, told me, pitchers love the cold. I don't. I'd rather play in 110-degree heat. He told me he will handle the cold this way. I'll layer up, then I'll suck it up. Colton Wong has a unique way of fighting the cold. He told me he got in the hot tub right before game time, then covered himself head to toe in heat balm. Dan, he says, it stings a little, but it helps.
Colton Wong from Hawaii, so he's not used to this. Yadier Molina thought that was a strike after the 30-pitch first inning from Michael Wacha. This is Jeff Mathis at the plate. And we talk about how Wainwright sometimes, if he looks back in ever so slightly, you know that that's his way of saying, I thought that was a strike.
Yeah.
Yadi didn't even throw the ball back to Michael Wacha and then look back at the home plate umpire. I am now more than ever convinced umpires need to call strikes. If you want to speed up the game, you want to pace to the game, you've got to call strikes.
Call a strike when the ball's a strike.
Absolutely. I thought the other night that was one of the issues with Adam Wainwright. The strike zone was terrible.
I thought you had an interesting point before the game down with Mike Matheny when you asked Mike if he were in favor of the no umpire behind home plate, the digital strike zone. He said no.
Said I wouldn't have had a job. He said that's how I made a living. I was able to handle pitchers.
Funny line.
Second strikeout for Michael Wacha.
Good comeback. 3 straight balls, 3 straight strikes. Greinke can hit.
He's a .217 career hitter. How about that? You start the pitcher off with a breaking ball. They know he can hit. Does own 6 home runs in his career. Tim, when you have Greinke and Ray last year back-to-back, the Diamondbacks were 42 and 18 when they started their games. They were 500 with everybody else.
Winning 2 out of every 3 with those 2.
That just missed. 3-0. And the 4th walk issued by Michael Wacha. Back to the top of the lineup and David Peralta. I'm going to get a jacket out to Zach Greinke on this cold day. David Peralta had played in 917 big league games. And who knows, he's married to an American girl. Who knows how many sporting events he's been to and listened to the national anthem. And they just had a little baby, and he completed a lengthy naturalization process to become a U.S. citizen. He said, this country has given me everything.
You said the other night, what a sweet story about in Venezuela, they're making a movie about Peralta and the woes and travails that he had in becoming a major league player.
The interesting part about that, Tim, it's the documentary is being done by a student from Venezuela. It started out as his look at Tommy John surgery, and he came across this guy named David Peralta from Venezuela. And he said, wait a minute, that's a great story that he had Tommy John, but now he's a position player They just called a balk on Michael Waka.
Oh boy, he didn't step off. Someone yelled, "There he goes." I think it was Martinez. The one thing you don't want is to alarm a pitcher, because in the process of coming home, he didn't step off. You've got to step off first. And I thought he did.
Did he pick up that left leg early? First?
Perhaps.
As you talked about the other day, you pick up that left leg, only place to go is to the plate.
You're committed to go to the plate, yes.
It's his second career balk in the first since 2015. And it brings in Marte after the strikeout of Peralta. But just to finish the thought on the documentary with David Peralta, starts with him working the late shift at McDonald's for gas money so he could accept an invitation to an independent team. Pretty good story.
Signed originally with the Cardinals for $35,000.
It's amazing.
It really is.
I asked Tony La Russa, do you remember him in camp? And he said, I no clue who he was as a pitcher. Where is that pitch? My goodness.
Well, there are just certain pitches you have to question. Yadier Molina trying to be diplomatic behind the plate. It's tough to be on calls like that.
And a grounder handled by Martinez. Steps on the bag. Greinke left stranded. We're midway through 2, and it's 1-1. Here in St. Louis, baseball now, and then tonight Blues hockey. We have it for you. Special 1-hour pregame at 7. It's real simple. The Blues win in Colorado. They're in the playoffs. It comes down to the final regular season game. The Blues and Avalanche tonight, pregame at 7 for 1 hour on Fox Sports Midwest. I never felt this way, and I'm not sure where you stand with it. We got Mike's thoughts about it. After the game Thursday was the first time that I felt I'm open to the idea of a strike zone that's computerized. If the technology is there, I'm more and more thinking that maybe that's the way it needs to go.
And just kind of an open book to talk about it. I wonder if you'd have, if that were to happen, an umpire strike, because that would be getting rid of one job every game, the home plate umpire.
Sure.
Just a thought.
I saw a feature done on HBO's Real Sports. It was very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The home plate
Great
umpire
show.
wears an earpiece, and the screen that you see right there is the screen that they use. You can see the little box of the home plate area, and that box will move appropriately for the size of the player, the stance of a player. And so somebody is there in a booth having communication with the home plate umpire. Just says ball, strike.
So you wouldn't get rid of a job then.
You would not get rid, and you still have plays at the plate.
Uh-huh.
You still could call a balk. You still have out safe at home. There's a 1-2. And a strikeout of DeYoung. He has struck out every time in this series. First strikeout for Zach Greinke. And in watching the feature, Tim, there's a breaking ball there by Greinke. No arguments. Players liked it. The managers that were part of it, they thought it was fine because there was no argument with it. The technology was there to call balls and strikes properly.
Who do you argue with, the machine?
I do miss that. I love a good old argument. But I've got you up here for 4 hours before every game to do that. Into shallow left. Had a shift on, and the catch is made. So Wong is now 1 for 16. Brings in Michael Waka. Pitching staff of Arizona will get better, you would assume, with the addition of Shelby Miller, the former Cardinal, still recovering from Tommy John surgery. And they expect a return date late June or July. That could be a very good arm added to this staff.
Shelby has had one of the oddest careers for any pitcher in recent history.
Traded for Jason Hayward.
Mm-hmm.
Has an all-star year on a horrible team.
Right. The Atlanta Braves.
Pitched great. Had no support, and then goes for Dansby Swanson, the #1 overall pick by the Diamondbacks, to Arizona, and has Tommy John surgery. Was a rare high school pitcher selected by the Cardinals. They have, at least in recent history, not gone that way. A strikeout of Michael Waka. 2 in the inning, 2 in the day for Zach Greinke on a cold day here in St. Louis. Top of the third. A cold day here in St. Louis. Paul Goldschmidt will lead it off for the Diamondbacks, one of the top players in all of baseball. Big guy from Wilmington, Delaware. Great accolades. All-Stars, Gold Gloves, Silver Sluggers. But off to a slow start. He's just 2 for 23, but you know that'll change.
What you could add into that mix that he was third in the MVP balloting last year. Giancarlo Stanton. And who was number 2?
Joey Votto.
Yeah, Joey Votto.
Joey Votto almost won. He was only 2 votes shy, I believe.
That's right. Looks like a hunting camp up here.
Got
Throw
some
another
heaters
log
coming
on the
in.
fire.
I like it.
Tom, nice going. Thank you. Heaters everywhere.
Keep them coming.
That's what Michael Wacha hopes to do.
A strike to Goldschmidt. Walked his first time up. So despite the fact he has not been hitting, still drawing a lot of walks. He's got 10 already this season.
That's where the players talk about pitching to his reputation. Regardless of whether a guy is hitting or not, you're still pitching tough, like he is hitting.
We saw those 5 All-Star games. He's tied with Randy Johnson, Luis Gonzalez for the franchise record with those 5 appearances. Low strike going Michael Wacha's way.
You don't see Michael Wacha's low fastball get called a strike often. But it was a good one, and Goldschmidt knew it.
Here's A.J. Pollock, base hit into center. And that drove in David Peralta to make it 1-0. Cardinals then tied it up. Arcia drive to success. Michael Wacha been very good for the most part against these Arizona Diamondbacks. First start against Arizona was back on June 4th of 2013. 10 hits, 6 runs, and 4 2/3, and since then very, very good. Michael Wacha had a balk last inning. Cardinals had 0 balks in 2017. First time since 1968. The team went an entire season without a balk in 1968. Big year for Bob Gibson. Tim McCarver caught 108 games that year. And throughout the season, we'll be celebrating the 50th anniversary of the 1.12 ERA of the great Bob Gibson. He literally changed the game.
Yes, he did. Following year, the mound was lowered 5 inches from 15 inches elevation to 10.
He thought he had strike 3.
See, Mike was headed to the dugout and didn't get the call.
Paul Goldschmidt is saying that was a strike on me.
Yeah.
The 3-2 to Pollock. Pulled fair inside the third base line and down into the corner. So from a called third strike, what Wacha thought turns out to be a 1-out double. Pollock 2 for 2.
Second hit for Pollock. Drove in a run with a single. That looked like a changeup. Stayed up. Pollock off to a good start in 2018.
There's Descalso, who walked his first time up. Well, it's not only here, but across the board in Major League Baseball. The weather has been very cold to start this season. Season will span 187 days instead of 183 this year, part of the new collective bargaining agreement. Extra days off, more time to reschedule, making sure that Game 7 of the World Series played in October and not in November. And even though it's a earlier start to the season, this would be a normal time to play baseball, and yet still very cold. How about the Tigers? I was looking at their schedule, Tim, and they've been playing in just brutal conditions. Very, very cold. As Descalso lifts a high fly ball into left center. Pham calling for it. He makes the catch. Runner stays put. Detroit, their first 25 games played in Chicago, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, or at home where it's freezing. Their first 25 games are in temperatures that are in the 30s and 40s.
You don't hear about people from Florida traveling to Detroit in April for the beaches. Cold in Motor City.
MLB at Bat, your #1 Cardinals app. Customize your experience to catch every moment this season. Get Cardinals home screen icons and features such as the MLB.TV Game of the Day, pitch tracking, in-game highlights, live radio broadcast, stats, news, and more. Download MLB at Bat today.
I think Yadier Molina is out there to talk about whether to pitch to Chris Owings or who he would rather pitch to, either Owings or Jared Dyson, the on-deck batter. Tough for a pitcher who is struggling with his control to pitch around any hitter. You either ought to walk him or pitch to him.
And a fly ball lifted out to left. Ozuna won't get there. Drops in for a hit. They pitch to him. And Chris Owings makes it a 2-1 Arizona lead.
Michael Wacha, that might be the first time I've ever seen him talk to an umpire. He was backing up home plate and he said something to home plate umpire Mike Winters. I'm not sure, by the way, that Ozuna saw this ball hit off the end of the bat. He didn't look comfortable fielding that ball at all. He fielded it on one hop. Normally he would make that play. It was not hit that hard. But I don't think he saw it.
There's Dyson. Came up with the bases loaded back in the first. And grounded to Jose Martinez. Showing bunt. Fouled back for a strike. .29 balls, 31 strikes so far for Michael Wacha.
Owings can run. We talked about him being picked off on Thursday night's game. Diamondbacks are a very good base running team. Dave McKay, the first base coach, sees to that.
And a strike. 1-2 on Dyson. And a strikeout for Michael Wacha, number 5 today. 2 in the inning, 2 out hit by Owings, and a 2-1 Diamondbacks lead. Steak and Shake. Mix and match any 2 items for just $3. Better burgers, better prices, Steak and Shake. And by Missouri Baptist Medical Center, doctors call it world-class medicine. You'll call it MOBAP. Along with Tim McIver and Jim Hayes, I'm Dan McLaughlin on what we think is the coldest game played in St. Louis. Game time temperature below 40 degrees. Wind chill right around 28, 29 degrees. The top of the lineup in Dexter Fowler.
Much colder in the stands, up in the press box, things like that, than on the field. It's a bright sunshine on the field. And I've got to believe that the players are not cold at all.
Players heard that, they'd say, Tim, speak for yourself. We're cold, man. And then Tim would say, it's the big leagues, man.
It's the big leagues. Cope with it.
Deal with it. Fowler hits it out of play. Dexter flied to center first time up. Ah, yeah, the heaters are out. They're bundled up. And we've got big league baseball here in St. Louis. Nothing like it. Now that's an idea. Put it right by the heater, the helmet, then put it on. Dexter Fowler, 261 plate appearances as a leadoff man. That's with the Cardinals. His average at 196, on base percentage below 300. And yet when he's a number 3 hitter, pretty good numbers last year. And Carpenter, identical. You know, you just reverse it when he's at the leadoff spot.
I see your drift, and the numbers don't lie. I mean, particularly with him as a leadoff man. His success leading off is not good. But the Cardinals, if they're going to go anyplace, they got to get the front of the lineup going. Fowler, Pham, Carpenter.
Three-two pitch. Fowler drives it into right center field, and that ball is down. Dexter thinking two, on his way to second, standing up, leadoff double.
working the 3-2 count. Got a fastball. So one thing, and we tried to talk about it in the first 2 innings, it's tough to guess with Greinke. A lot of breaking balls behind in the count. He got a predictable pitch there and drilled it for his second double of the year.
Pham bunting, he's 0 for his last 8. Tommy, after his breakout season, a chance to play every day. The center fielder here with the Cardinals. The 0-1 instead of check on Fowler. Zach Greinke won the 2009 American League Cy Young Award. Runner-up to Jake Arrieta in the National League in 2015. Gave the award to his parents, and he took home the samurai sword that was given to him by Mizuno. He was using their equipment. He said, "Mom, Dad, you take this. I want the samurai sword."
Yeah, you don't want to give your mom and dad a sword.
No. What if they get mad at you?
Yeah.
I don't like to think about that. The 0-2. And here's Zach Greinke with every pitch. I mentioned this the other night. Robbie Ray was doing it. Greinke too. To an even greater extreme, but grunting and yelling with every pitch. Nolan Ryan used to do that all the time.
Yes, he did. The thing about Greinke, when he misses, it's minuscule. He'll miss by a 1/4 of an inch. Rarely up and down. He is an east-west pitcher, inside and outside. Usually works right-handed hitters outside with 2 strikes.
Out to left, sinking, and a base hit. Fowler had to make sure that wasn't caught. Runners at the corners. Because of that, Tim, that's probably why Greinke gets a lot of those borderline pitches. He's always around the strike zone.
That's exactly right. That's a good point. He misses here, however, in the middle of the plate, and Pham takes care of it, just drilling it to left field. One of the rare times of the season where the Cardinals have runners at first and third and nobody out. Chance for a big inning. So it's so vital to get that leadoff man on. And that's why good pitchers like Greinke try to keep him off the base.
Carpenter with a base hit, run scored back in the first. Cardinals had a 2-out rally. Tommy Pham, the best stolen base threat, along with Colton Wong for the Cardinals in this lineup. Greinke knows that. In this series, Cardinals 0 for 6. As we were talking with Mike Matheny in his office, he said, boy, there was a couple of times we thought we were going to get to Robbie Ray, and he made some big pitches. Guys were struggling to pick up that slider. We'll see if they can't change that here. One ball, one strike.
There's a changeup. We talked about how Greinke pitches backwards, throws a lot of breaking balls, a lot of off-speed stuff when he is behind in the count.
That's hit out to right. Dyson over to make the catch. Fowler tags up. And we're tied. It's 2-2.
Now that opens things up for Pham at first base to run. It's not a good running situation first and third because you don't want to get picked off. So Fowler, after the double, going to third on the Pham single and scoring on the sac fly from Matt Carpenter. And look out for Tommy to run. Boy, Carpenter, there have been 3 bullets hit by the Cardinals off Greinke. You don't see that often.
Ozuna, base hit to left. 1 for 1 today. Room on the right side of the infield. One thing that Ozuna did last year in having that huge season and talking with those that watched him every day, his ability to go to right field. Instead of pulling off pitches 2 years ago, he would do that. Now the ability to not only hit to right field, but do it with power.
Yeah, you know, the one thing that is so evident about Marcel is his awareness. He's a guy between the white lines. He is aware of things that happen. And you might say, well, aren't all players? Yes, but some are more tuned and tuned in than others, and Ozuna is one of those players.
Watch the backswing here of Ozuna. We could hear this up here.
He will alert. Guys with a backswing like that will alert the catcher that he has a backswing just to make sure the catcher understands.
Do they really?
Yes, yes, always. They'll simply say, I have a backswing. So in that, what does the catcher do? Well, he'll play off a little bit more than they normally would, which can work in reverse if you got speed on it at first with Tommy Pham.
It's a game of inches, right?
Yeah, you bet.
Inch or 2 back. Pham was picked off the most last year. The Diamondbacks, their pitchers, picked off 18 runners a season ago. It was second most in baseball to the Cubs' 19, with John Lester in their rotation. Think about that. Ozuna out to right. That sinking base hit. Pham on his way to third. The Cardinals with 3 hits off of Greinke here in the bottom of the third. Ozuna 2 for 2.
I don't know whether Greinke was trying to come inside or not, but Ozuna, thinking that ball was going to be away from him, kind of inside out of that ball to right center field. Pham could see it well. Goes to third easily. So one first and third begets another for the Cardinals here in the 3rd inning of this ball game. Boy, you like to see that.
Cardinals with 6 hits, 5 of those coming with 2 strikes. Now Martinez, who had a 2-out, 2-strike base hit back in the first. Jose with that RBI back in the first, up to 5 this year for the Cardinals. He has started every game. The 0-1. 0-2. Talk about contact in the game of baseball and movement. Molina, we always mention first pitch, very aggressive, the lowest swing and miss percentage, and Jose Martinez on that list as well.
Well, with Greinke missing with that fastball inside to Ozuna, I don't think that Martinez is going to see a pitch inside. I think Greinke's going to stay away, away, away.
In the air, left center. It's at the wall. Gone! 3-run homer, Jose Martinez.
You talk about a big league mistake. That was it to Jose Martinez. Here's a fastball right down the pipe, 90 miles an hour. Talk about a guy who, as Mike Matheny says, can barrel it up. He just barreled one up. 3-run dinger from Martinez.
And it comes on an 0-2 pitch, his second home run of the season and the first lead in this series for the Cardinals. A 5-2 score. Yachty hits it in the air down the left field line and out of play.
Yet another 2-strike hit.
Yeah.
For the Cardinals.
7 hits, 6 now coming with 2 strikes.
Yeah. That was a big one right there.
Man can just flat out hit, huh?
Jose Martinez hits more balls hard than any other Cardinal.
The 0-2 to Yachty. Fouled back. Take a look at the home run thanks to StatCast. 107.1 miles per hour off the bat. Just cleared the wall. They were talking about making contact. This is the first at bat in 21 that Molina swung and missed at a pitch. His last 21. Reaching for it. Base hit into center. 5 hits in the inning. And another one coming with 2 strikes.
I got to tell you, you remember the play in the Super Bowl a few years ago, and Chris Collinsworth said, I got to tell you, with Marcel Lynch, Marshawn Lynch as the batter. I mean, you can't throw the ball there. You got to give the ball to Lynch. And on that 0-2 pitch that Greinke threw, you cannot throw a fastball in that count, in my opinion. There are just certain things that catchers can't do, and you want to just, if you're a pitcher and you're talking about, coordination between your pitcher and your catcher, there's no way to throw a fastball to Jose Martinez. There's no reason for you to do that. You tantalize him. Try to get him to swing at a bad ball.
His reaction after the ball was hit would tell you he agrees with you too.
Yeah.
He was not happy with himself.
Yeah. Well, he shouldn't be happy with himself. Nor should Mathis, the catcher.
So 1 out and a runner at first. Cardinals are 7 for 9 with 2 strikes today. The major league average with 2 strikes is 168.
Think about that. That's great.
Cardinals entered today hitting 149 with 2 strikes. And DeYoung falls behind 0-2.
Dan, it's rare that any major league hitter will ever hit 300 with 2 strikes on him.
The odds just aren't with you.
The odds are not with you. That's why it's so unusual for the Cardinals to have that many two out base hits today.
The old adage, throw hard in, soft away. Been seeing that a lot here with DeYoung. His at bats with the Diamondbacks. The other night, 4 strikeouts, struck out his first time here today.
Well, clearly the National League word has gotten out. Don't throw Paul DeYoung a fastball to hit.
Strikes out for the second time.
baseball with hitters, pitchers, and hitters. It's a cat and mouse game. They change, and they change until you hit it. So in order to stop that bevy of breaking balls coming, you got to start putting it in play hard. Then they'll quit.
A breaking ball and a strike to Colton Wong, the 8th place hitter. Popped out his first time up, 0 for 1. Michael Walk on deck with 2 outs and a runner at first. There goes Molina. He's running, and a ground ball that's chopped to second. Wong 0 for 2, but a big inning for the Cardinals. 5 hits, highlighted by the 3-run shot from Jose Martinez. He's tied his career high already with 4 RBIs. Only 3 innings in the books. Jose Martinez is driven in 4. The Cardinals have a 5-2 lead in the top of the 4th. Injury update. Let's check in with Jim Hayes.
Yeah, Dan, I had a chance to talk with John Mozeliak. He told me Luke Gregerson, who's on the DL with a hamstring strain, he said Gregerson will start his rehab with Palm Beach tonight. Mo said Gregerson will pitch tonight. So will Greg Holland. Mo says they're hoping Gregerson will rejoin the Cards sometime next week. Holland, according to Mo, should be here in St. Louis Monday, depending on how things go for him tonight. Brett Cecil is on the DL with a shoulder strain. Mo says Cecil is also dealing with an ankle issue. They don't believe either issue is long-term, but Mo says he'll need a little more time. Mo also said Alex Reyes has been impressive as he makes his way back from Tommy John. Mo says Reyes hit 97 miles per hour with his fastball during his last live throwing session. Dan, Mo says Reyes will likely start a rehab in early May. He says Reyes' role with the big club still yet to be determined. He'll continue to prepare as a starter, Dan.
All right, Jimmy, good stuff. Thanks. Jeff Mathis, Zach Greinke, and David Peralta due up for the Diamondbacks. Potentially, Tim, you look at those guys coming and joining the club, the bullpen could really be a strong suit before it's all said and done. Really good.
In today's baseball, your bullpen has to be a strong suit.
No doubt.
If you're a contending team, the Cardinals certainly hope that will be the case.
Starters just don't go very deep.
Nope. Not expected to.
For instance, this is game 8 for the Cardinals. 7 starts. Only 1 says a starter made it through 6. So you got to rely on the bullpen.
That was Carlos Martinez, right?
That's right. Pitched into the 9th. And it's a leadoff walk 5 walks issued by Michael Wacha. Cardinals Hall of Fame voting is live now through April 12th. Go to cardinals.com/HOF. See the ballot. Vote for your favorite players. Special thanks to Edward Jones for sponsoring the Hall of Fame and the annual voting process.
The Cardinals have to play this safe because Greinke's just too good a hitter. If you play the bunt, that's fine. But he can hit. That could be a decoy right there. I don't think he's intended to hit right now. I beg your pardon, to bunt right now.
He walked his first time up back in the second. Now time called. Ray Lankford is in the house today, and I would think that he would have a very good chance to join you and some of the others in the Cardinals Hall of Fame. On the ballot, great numbers.
Some player.
Bunted up the first base line, and the tag applied by Martinez. So the sacrifice is good, and we go back to the top of the lineup.
Cardinals throughout their history have been known, and I'm not too sure a lot of Cardinal fans really know this, but they've been known for a lot of tough players. The players in the 30s, the Gas House Gang, almost to a man. Ducky Medwick.
You told me
the Fordham Flash, Frankie Frisch.
That not only was Lou Brock a great hitter and base stealer, but you said what stood out to you was how tough he was.
Oh my gosh, no player ever suited up for the Cardinals or anybody that was tougher than Lou Brock. A guy who you would never see in the training room, ever.
Bob Gibson breaks his leg and comes back and pitches.
In 6.5 weeks.
1967 on a comebacker by Roberto Clemente. Here's a ground ball handled by Martinez. Mathis moving to third on the play.
I mean, Stan Musial was graceful, renowned, of course, in this city and throughout the country for his grace, the way he handled himself, but he was a tough guy. Stan Musial loved to play. He never sat on the bench. He played every day, and I mean every day. 3,630 hits worth, 475 home runs. But as much as anything, he was tough. Red Shandy's the same way. Of course, the game was different back there. Wasn't looked upon as much from a gracious standpoint. I mean, guys in the 40s, 50s, 60s, tough.
I'm assuming it made you think about toughness when I said Lankford, and then you think about Darren Dalton.
Oh yeah.
That slap foul, and
one of the most vicious collisions at home plate ever.
Really is. Talk about it all the time, how tough it is just to play this game and answer the bell every day. For instance, the guy behind the plate right now.
Right. Speaking of tough. Some people, even teammates of guys like that, of Ray Lankford, of Lou Brock, take it for granted, or took it for granted. But boy, with Lou's one of the toughest guys I ever saw put on a uniform. And I couldn't mean that anymore.
The 1-2 pitch. Think about him now in this stage of his life and
tough,
battling the illnesses that he's had.
You kidding me?
I thought that was great the other night. To me, it was the best part of it. seeing him walk out to his spot with the Hall of Famers. His time was called and granted late.
It's a good way, speaking of home plate umpires, that's a good way to hurt a pitcher.
Sure is. Cold day especially. Boy, he's in his windup.
Yeah. The whole idea is, does a home plate umpire grant timeout when a pitcher is that far along and throwing the pitch? If he has to stop abruptly, that could cause a very serious arm injury.
And a grounder that's hit to second baseman Colton Wong. Arizona strands a runner. They have left 6 on midway through 4, and it's 5-2. T-Mobile, the best network for streaming baseball, because your stadium should be where you make it. They were playing the theme music from Frozen for those of you that have kids. I have 4 young ones. Sometimes you want to take that CD and throw it out the window because you've heard it at least 2 million times. Here's Michael Wacha, the first pitch. Popped up into shallow right. Last year, we were talking about 2-strike hitting, and it's been prominent today for the Cardinals. 8 hits, 7 coming with 2 strikes. Nobody hit 300 with 2 strikes last year. Justin Turner led all of baseball when he hit 279. An amazing stat, though.
Unbelievable.
Tony Gwynn in 1994 hit 397 with 2 strikes. That year overall hit 394, but 397 with 2 strikes. The great Tony Gwynn. Man.
And if that season were finished, it was stopped about August 14th or so, and postseason was obliterated by then Commissioner Bud Selig. And Tony Gwynn would have hit 400 in my view.
You think so?
I don't think there's any doubt about it.
Why do you say that?
Because he would, well, number one, he was hitting 394 when the season was over. But Tony Gwynn was the type of hitter who you couldn't pitch to unless you walked him anything in the strike zone. Down and in, up and away, low and away. Didn't matter. And he was on a tear, and I am convinced that Tony would have hit 400 that year to become the the last hitter to hit 400 since Ted Williams in 1941 when he hit 406.
Well, Sunday, starting 2 hours prior to every home game, enjoy games, prizes, and free North Star ice cream treats while supplies last. It's in the Ford Plaza, presented by Prairie Farms. Get here early tomorrow and you can freeze and also have ice cream. Here's Tommy Pham. Sounds a little better in July than it does tomorrow.
Yes, it does.
But if you're a kid, you don't care. You're getting ice cream. Pham pops it up and out of play. A reminder, a 1 hour Blues pregame show tonight. The Blues and Avalanche. Blues win, they're in. Play 81 games and you got 1 game left. That decides their fate. We've got it for you tonight on Fox Sports Midwest. Here's the 0-2 pitch. You staying warm, partner? You're all right?
I'm fine.
Good.
Yeah.
Nice and cozy up
Why
here.
are you overly concerned?
Well, I worry about you. Make sure that you're happy. That's my job. A strikeout of Pham, and that's 4 today. Paul Goldschmidt leads it off. A cold day here in St. Louis when we come back. A team that traded Andrew McCutchen and Garrett Cole off to a very good start. Thank you, Scotty. They pitch a ball to Paul Goldschmidt. I don't know if you knew this, and I'm not sure the Cardinals know this. That's Tim. I'm Dan. Jim with us as well. But Megan Eberhardt, if she's watching, we have a new promotional idea for next year. Did you know that?
I have not been informed of that.
It does concern you.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, give it to me.
I'm thinking right now this.
Oh.
This scarf.
What about it?
The Tim McCarver red scarf giveaway in early April next year. Why not?
Hey, it's a good idea.
That's a base hit. You have heard more about your scarf than you heard about the team.
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. To my dismay, it's a good swing by Paul Goldschmidt, and sometimes hitters like Goldschmidt break out of that miserable slump that he's been in to start the season. He had a hit to right field the other night. Yeah, I kind of like the red scarves. I mean, when you get a compliment about dressing from Ozzie Smith, and Ozzie said it was a nice touch, that's good enough for me, pal.
It's a seal of approval. That's pulled foul. 37 degrees, coldest home start in recorded history, according to the Cardinals PR department here in St. Louis. I thought it was a little extravagant, the red scarf in New York. It wasn't that cold. You didn't need it. But today you need it.
Look, I'll be the judge of that. I mean, can I handle how I dress?
You look great.
No, don't try and clean it up.
You look great. This could be two. Charity hop to Carpenter. The turn by Wong and the pick by Martinez.
Good pick by Martinez. Really good pick. That's that in-between hop. It's not a short hop. The short hops are easy. The in-between hops, that was, even though the ball came up, a tough play for Carpenter. Understandably, an in-between hop by Wong, but a good pick on the back end. That was nice.
I got to be honest with you, too. It's been the most commonly asked question for me in the first week and a half or so. Where did Tim get that scarf? I don't know. But it looks great.
You want me to tell you?
Yeah.
I got it in New York City.
Before we played the Mets, or a few years ago?
I got it last year.
Last year.
In New York City. Yes. And I had no idea about it being red enough. I thought there was too much orange in it.
Orange?
Yes, orange. I
It's
thought
all
there was
red.
Well, I know that now, but my eyes were they weren't working properly. I don't know. That these things happen when you're older, Dan. That's all I can tell you.
Well, I'm thinking Tim McCarver red scarf giveaway for early April next year.
Okay.
There's a high fly ball lifted out to deep right. Fowler back near the wall and just enough room. Descalso gave it a ride. And walk is through 5. Carpenter, Ozuna, Martinez coming up. A kind navy pullover jersey featuring a vintage Cardinals chest logo, courtesy of AT&T. Oh, those young ladies, those Cardinal fans. The Tim McCarver line of clothing. The red scarf.
Sure comes in handy on a day like today, I'll tell you that.
I did think it was a little over the top again in New York. I want to be clear about that, but today you're off the hook.
How about Thursday night? Sorry, Dan.
I didn't think it was that chilly that you needed a scarf. You were just going for the look. And that's okay too. You're a man about town. You're a sharp dresser. I get it. You're just shaking your head at me.
I don't know why I put up with this stuff.
Carpenter, Ozuna, and Martinez combined 6 for 6 today with 3 runs and 5 driven in. The 1-2 pitch.
Yeah, I mean, the Zach Greinke has not done anything with 3, 4, 5 in the Cardinal lineup. They're 5 for 5 with a sac fly, and they've driven in all the runs, haven't they?
Yep.
One by
Strikeout of
Carpenter, four by Martinez. Pardon me, Dan.
You mentioned that Greinke was drafted in 2002. Brian Bullington went #1 to Pittsburgh that year. Greinke went 6th. All the players selected before him are out of the game, and only a handful of those first rounders even remain playing today.
How about that? I did not know that. It's a good note.
Ozuna lines it to center. Hit that right on the button. He's 2 for 3. Cardinals didn't pick until third. His third round that year. They took Calvin Hayes. He was a shortstop. There's nobody from that draft of the Cardinals still playing. Back in the third inning, this is the 3-run homer on an 0-2 pitch. A couple of the Cardinals made it to the big leagues in that draft. Brad Thompson, part of the '06 World Championship team and our colleague at Fox Sports Midwest. And Kyle McClellan, St. Louis native, turned down a scholarship to go to Mizzou, and he was part of the 2011 championship team. I always like to go back and look at drafts and see
sure, it's fun
how it all played out. Slowly hit left side, taken by Descalso. And the second 1-2-3 inning for Zach Greinke. Did that in the second, and here in inning number 5. game summary, 5-2 Cardinals after falling behind early. Zach Greinke, 5 innings, 8 hits. A.J. Pollock is 2 for 3. Michael Wacha out of the game now. 5 innings, 5 walks, 2 runs. And Jose Martinez is driven in 4. So 5 innings for Wacha, and it's our Chevy call to the bullpen, and Dominic Leone, who had the rough outing against Milwaukee, but any other time after that or before it has been fine. Here's Chris Owings. His brother Connor was drafted by the Diamondbacks in the 34th round. And the Diamondbacks every year allow Corey Hahn, who was drafted in the 34th round, to make the Diamondbacks selection every year, 34th round. And it holds significant meaning. Hahn is now paralyzed, works in their front office. And he chose Connor Owings, who was a terrific college player. He was the Big South Conference Player of the Year, won a national championship, but he had one functioning kidney, and that's why teams stayed away, thinking that he would not be healthy. And his mother was his kidney donor, and so he had
what
surgery.
A great story, Dan. Wow.
And Connor is doing well. He wants to sign with an independent team. He's back fully healthy, and see if he can't make it back in the big leagues some way, somehow. Two balls, 2 strikes. There's so many wonderful stories in this game.
Well, the game covers such, what's the word, strata of life.
The strikeout of Chris Owings.
Good fastball right on the corner to get Owings. Chris thought it was outside. Chris may have had a point. That ball looked a little outside, but Leon got the call.
The
Leon, pardon me.
BJC Healthcare difference maker, fewest pitches per batter faced. Relievers this year. This bullpen has been called upon a lot so far. Mike Myers pitched on March 29th. He's made 1 appearance. It's an 8-man bullpen. That was against the Mets. Since that time, the pen has seen 7 relievers cover 20 1/3 innings over a combined 21 appearances. I guess as a manager, you want to feel covered. That's why you have the short bench. You carry 8 relievers. Here's Gerard Dyson. We were talking about the draft. The draft now is 40 rounds in baseball. Gerard Dyson was selected in the 50th round, back when there was more than just 40. First player to make it to the big leagues from the 50th round, drafted back in 2006. 2-1 to center. Catch made by Tommy Pham.
That's what the Cardinals are trying to do with Dyson, trying to get him to hit the ball in the air, and he did. Does not have a lot of power. That last pitch up in the strike zone, and they would love to see Dyson swing at that pitch. Tough pitch to hit on the ground.
There's Jeff Mathis with 2 outs. He has 1 RBI this season. That was as a pinch hitter. Had a walk-off single in the 16th inning against the Dodgers. And if he did not pick up the walk-off hit, he was the next pitcher to come in.
No.
As a backup catcher.
Dodgers off to a bad start. They're 2-5 on the year. The Dodgers and Giants rained out last night in San Francisco.
Thought it was a misprint when I saw that.
Yeah.
2-1. So much water on the field. They were supposed to play a day game today, and they moved it to a 6 o'clock start. Two and two. Struck him out. Good work by Leone with a pair of strikeouts. The first 1-2-3 inning by the Cardinals in this series. For 2018, it's Taijuan Walker. Weaver talked about gutting through his last start against the Mets.
Pitched 5 innings, 1-0 on the year. Gutty performance in a game that in the early season the Cardinals really wanted because they had lost the first 2 games to the Mets. And last Sunday, Luke Weaver churned up a good one.
It's Yadier Molina, Paul DeYoung, and Colton Wong for the Cardinals. And then the pitcher spot. Molina is 1 for 2. So a high draft choice 2002 by the Royals, and Kansas City wasn't sure if Zach Greinke would put it all together. But in 2006, he was diagnosed with social anxiety disorder. He walked away briefly from the game. Here's the 0-1. His acknowledging the problem helped the public really understand that social anxiety disorder is not a stigma. It can be handled. Medication, proper doctors, and he's really been an inspiration for some as he battled that and then became and is one of the dominant pitchers in the game. And has been doing it a long time.
Yes, he has.
The 2-1 pitch. And he's talked about it at length probably twice in the last 10 years where he wanted to get the word out.
I'll tell you, with social media, Dan, I'm surprised it's not a bigger problem than it is.
And a ground ball base hit for Molina. April 21st, 30,000 fans 16 and over receive a Dexter Fowler bobblehead, courtesy of AAA Insurance, and this is Dexter's first gate giveaway in a Major League Baseball stadium, so don't miss out. Get your tickets today at cardinals.com/promotions.
Yadier Molina with his second hit up the middle. Torey Lovullo is out to make a double switch. Whenever, if you're at a ballpark, folks, and you see the manager go to the home plate umpire immediately, you know, that is during the inning, you know there's going to be a double switch. And managers usually do that to protect their bullpen. That's what Torey's doing.
Matt Cuck is the new pitcher. Tell you about him when we come back. They carry 5 righties in their pen, 3 lefties. And this is our Chevy call to the pen. That's the career numbers. He's appeared in 8 games in his Major League career. Nick Ahmed goes to short, and Chris Owings goes to right as part of the double switch. So 1 out. Here's Paul DeYoung, and he looks at a ball. Tough start at home here for Paul. He has struck out 7 consecutive times. Wow. Longest streak by Cardinals since John Stuper, a pitcher. 9 consecutive times he struck out in 1983.
John Stuper is still the coach at Yale. Baseball coach at Yale.
He was the Game 6 World Series winner of 1982. The long rain delay, and he went 9 innings and gave up a run. The 13-1 win by St. Louis over Milwaukee. That's it out of play.
Yeah, Paul going through a little funk right now. Seems like he's found himself behind on every at bat over the last several games.
He and Yadier Molina both with 3 home runs. Charlie Blackmon, Bryce Harper with 4 to lead the National League. And Charlie Blackmon just signed a long-term deal with Colorado.
Well, what a player he has been and will continue to be. He's a horse.
And Bryce Harper this time next year will be at the start of a very long-term deal with somebody.
He'll be a wealthy horse.
Oh, yeah.
Wealthier than Blackman.
That's out of play. There's some that say it could get to $400 million in that contract.
I think it probably will.
You think so?
I think so, yes. And I don't think Bryce Harper will be one of the ones to sign late in the spring either.
No. You won't have to be working out on the side.
Uh-uh.
A lot of teams have cleared out space to stay under the cap, if you will. It's luxury tax, but a cap. Have a chance to sign Bryce Harper. 3-2. Lifted in the air out to right. Catch made. The Phillips 66 ticket vouchers are back, and they are better than ever. Fill up at Phillips 66 with 8 gallons or more. And you can get a voucher for up to 50% off on up to 8 tickets to a Cardinals home game. For more information, visit cardinals.com/Phillips66. That's Owings and Wright that made that catch. Here's Colton Wong. 1 for 17 to start his year. 3 on the right side of the infield. Nice play by Mathis to keep that in front.
You know, it's imperative for Colton Wong to pick it up offensively. And he certainly understands that. Probably trying too hard right now. But one of the big reasons is to get him out of that number 8 hole. If he's hitting well, you get him out of the number 8 hole, he can utilize his speed. So there's a lot more to it than him just going well as an 8th place hitter.
It's a good point.
I think so, because he can't use his speed in the 8 hole because the pitcher's sitting right behind him. 8th place in the American League is totally different from the 8th place hitter in the National League. The American League, the 8th place hitter often is a force, as is the 9th place hitter.
So Harrison Bader, he's at the on-deck circle. Yachty was going and then stopped, throw down to first, and back in safely.
Had Yachty kept going, he would have fooled Cuck, but he stopped. The catcher, Mathis, with a quick throw down there, and Yachty back. Just hate to see Yachty go in like that because you're messing with the fingers.
3-0 pitch. 3-1.
And of all the players in the major leagues, the one guy who is, there is no way he can get hurt, is Yadier Molina. In my view, more than any other player in the major leagues. That would totally wreck a season of a ball club. Boy, you hate that. A check swing on a 3-1 pitch. If that happens 0-2 or 1-2, that's fine. But it cannot happen 3-1.
(3-2), and Wong lifts it in the air out to center field, and the catch is made. The other aspect too about Wong getting going, he's very much a momentum type player. You know what I mean?
Colton, sure.
Yeah,
sure.
Just get it going and let him take off after that. Here's Harrison Bader. He'll pinch hit for Dominic Leone. Harrison was to be at Memphis. Memphis has started out with 2 games and absolutely destroying the opposition. That is a good Memphis team, maybe better than last year's PCL championship team.
Right.
Matt Bowman up and throwing. Mike Myers saying, will I get my shot again? Oh, and 2 the count on Bader. And a strikeout of Bader. We have played 6 in a cold day here at Busch. Cardinals have a lead of 5-2. Cardinals may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals.
That's a little master's touch, wasn't it? With flowers?
I was just going to say, that's not a shot of Augusta. That's here in St. Louis with 30-degree temperatures.
Right.
So Matt Bowman is in. He'll pitch the 7th. At 59 appearances in 2016, 75 last year. 75 for a right-handed pitcher. That just doesn't usually happen. Lefties, you could see it. Righties, not so much.
Yeah, 134 appearances over his last 2 years, and his 3rd of this year.
There's Nick Ahmed, who was part of the double switch. This guy is some kind of fielder. Question has always been, will his bat match the defense to some extent?
Well, he's got a rival for that position whose bat matches his defense. And that's Marte.
Good pitch. 1-2. Bullpen has been very good. Excuse me, Tim. 7 innings.
All right.
Last 3 games, 7 innings, 8 strikeouts, and no runs.
That was a good slider from Matt Bowman.
Two and 2. Matt will turn 27 on May 31st. Held on to by Molina, and he picks up the strikeout. Plaza Tire Service Fox Tracks and the strikeout for Bowman. Here's David Peralta, walked and scored in the first, struck out and grounded out. Tyler Lyons throwing in the Cardinals pen. Cardinals came into this ball game having struck out 27% of their at-bats. A little better today. They've struck out 6 times, but timely hits with 2 strikes. Part of the storyline today is Mike Owaka got through 5 on a cold afternoon. Here's a 1-1. In the air to Tommy Pham. Makes the catch, holds on to it. This week on Cardinals Insider, Paul DeYoung talks about settling into St. Louis. Plus, we sit down with Gary LaRocque, the player development director, to talk about step camp. It's a very important part of the minor league system. And the host is that man right there, the wizard, Ozzie Smith, here on Fox Sports Midwest. I conducted that interview with Gary LaRocque in the feature, and step camp is really an interesting part of what they do. Trying to get players ready to roll with media training, off the field training, nightly meetings with former players, Orlando Palmeiro, Ryan Ludwig, Jason Isringhausen, guest speakers, but any way that they can try to get players ready for the big leagues. It's the top players of the minor league camp.
Well, that's certainly a side that a lot of fans don't understand, thinking, well, you're going to the big leagues, that's not a big deal. It's not that difficult. But it is. You mentioned Zach Greinke earlier and about his social disorder. Just some players are more akin to reaching out to people than others. It's hard for them. They're afraid. Can't take that first step.
The 1-2 is tap foul by Marte.
Tell you one guy in my experience was Steve Carlton. Steve Carlton did not like to interact with fans, the media. He was shy, very shy. I can give you 30 examples of pitchers because those are the ones that I usually dealt with in my career. Close pitch.
But Tim, in my opinion, and this goes for everybody that's watching, ourselves, folks in the media, we forget these are kids playing this game.
Yeah.
First time away from home, trying to figure out how to balance life and a job. That one is a strike. So he gets Marte, and that's 8 in a row set down by Cardinals pitchers. Coming up, top of the lineup, time to stretch here at Busch Stadium. The Gateway Honda home run inning. Cardinals hit a home run. The Gateway Honda dealers donate $1,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation of Missouri. Dexter Fowler, a run scored, 1 for 3 today with a double. Followed by Tommy Pham and Matt Carpenter. Cardinals with a lead of 5-2, and they've out-hit the Diamondbacks 9-4. Shift on for Fowler here at the plate. 3 on the right side of the infield. And a ball and a strike. We'll see how it all plays out, but you could see Jordan Hicks potentially in the 8th or 9th inning today.
There's a right-hander warming for the Cardinals, and it looks like Jordan Hicks. On cue, partner.
It's been fun to watch. Ooh, just foul. You know, Mike Matheny was telling us the other day, meeting in his office, and we said, well, you know, do you want to ease him into big league baseball and high leverage situations? And he said, you know what, his stuff plays, and if he's here, we're going to use him. If that means late innings and tight games, so be it. It's Mike Schilt there on the left, the bench coach. 3-2, lifted out to center. Cold day, that's knocked down, and the catch is made. Tommy Pham with a base hit and a run scored back in the 3rd. He is struck out and popped out. Cardinals wanted to make sure that that ball was caught. That's why they went back to the phones there to make sure the ball was caught. It was on the transfer that was dropped. Remember a couple years ago they said this would not be a catch? Clearly it is.
Mm-hmm.
Had to go in the glove.
With the bare hand.
Right. They changed that quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a 1-1.
Cardinals, we said during that 4-run 3rd inning that it was one of the rare times that the Cardinals have had 1st and 3rd and nobody out. Well, you see what happens.
It's down the right field line and foul.
In that situation, you know, it just opens things up. It's really tough to hold the team down from a multi-run inning if it's 1st and 3rd and nobody out. That sets the scene. It sets the stage. Cardinals set it, and then the 3-run home run by Jose Martinez, and they scored 4 runs in the inning. And that's been the big difference in this game.
Only game so far the Cardinals have not homered in was the home opener. How about Shohei Ohtani? He has more home runs in 18 at-bats, 3, than the Marlins have in 273. The strikeout of Tommy Pham.
Well, I got one for you. The Diamondbacks have 5 triples on the year. Why is that exciting for the Diamondbacks? Because that's one shy of what the Toronto Blue Jays had during the season last year.
Right.
They had 6 triples. That was the fewest triples ever during the 162-game schedule for a team, and that just gives you an idea of the diminishing fact that triples are not being hit that often. Guys do not think triples when they hit balls in the gap now. They think doubles.
It's now a sport of home runs and strikeouts.
And doubles.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
Cardinals have struck out 79 times on the season. That's second to Baltimore, 91 times. Crowd today, 41,113. 4-1, 1-1-3. Give the fans credit for coming out on a cold day.
You bet.
Here's a 1-2. 2-2.
Other than perhaps smaller crowds and soccer games for the children, and soccer being such an important sport here in St. Louis, you don't get the crowds for a sport in St. Louis anymore. Of course, the Rams are gone. You do get the Blues, but that's indoors. So the Cardinals on a cold day, it's kind of a unique experience for St. Louisans.
The 2-2. Strikeout of Carpenter. So back-to-back Ks. We head to the 8th. Jordan Hicks, that fastball on a cold day coming in. Budweiser. Wherever legendary MLB moments happen, Budweiser will be there. By the new Brunchfest Country Scrambler Plate with Jimmy Dean sausage links, only at Jack in the Box. And by Ford, going further so you can. I would think, partner, in our Chevy call to the pen, this would be an uncomfortable at bat anytime. But when it's mid-30s or whatever the case is right now, and this guy's coming in, it's really uncomfortable. Hard thrower. He is
hard and heavy.
The 8th hardest pitches thrown in baseball this year. Wow.
We say hard and heavy because most balls thrown around 100 miles an hour are thrown with 4 seams. Jordan Hicks throws a ball with 2 seams 100 miles an hour, which causes sink. And that's a slider at 86.
Oh, man.
It's a real thing.
It's unfair. Wow.
Cardinals hope it stays unfair.
0-2. His debut is in New York. His average in that opening appearance in the big leagues was 100.6 miles per hour. His last 3 outings has been 99.2. It's another slider, and it's hit to third, bobbled a bit. High throw and safe at first.
Now that normally an easy play for Matt. But once he drops it, he doesn't have the arm strength to compensate for dropping the ball. Matt very upset with himself.
So runner at first after the air, and here's Pollock, 2 for 3. Run scored, RBI, and grounded into a double play. It's tapped foul. You mentioned soccer. It'll be a cold night at the soccer park in Fenton tonight.
What's happening?
St. Louis FC plays tonight. Local soccer team.
All right.
Now, if you're a parent out there and have kids that play soccer like I do, you've spent many a cold night out there.
I bet.
This is nothing. This is easy.
Cake.
The 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Another slider. I think, Yachty, I think in situations like this, you make them hit the fastball. And fastball is your double play ball, and the ball more apt to be hit on the ground. But here comes the slider again.
Here's a 1-1. Well, that's the thing that you're talking about. You can throw as hard as Hicks does, and many guys do. We've seen it, but it's straight. It's a four-seamer. His is sink, and you're getting those ground balls.
You know what you do when you throw him a slider is you humanize him. You make him less a phenom. Fastball here.
The 1-2 pitch. Strike zone was very tough for Michael Wacha.
Yeah, that ball's low, though, I thought.
The 2-2. The short lead at first by Goldschmidt, and a 3-2 pitch. Up and in, and now the tying run will come to the plate. So at 2-2, he went with the slider. Had to go back to the fastball on 3-2, and Mike Maddox out for a mound visit. Cardinals will have 3 visits remaining after this one. Once again, we want to remind you that Blues hockey is later tonight. Blues win, and they are in. It's that simple. Final game of the regular season. We'll have it for you. Hour-long pregame show will come your way at 7. The Blues and Avalanche. Here's Daniel Descalso. Sent one to the wall back in inning number 5. He's flied to center and also walked. It's the first time that Jordan Hicks has had to pitch with 2 runners on. There's a strike. Out to right field, backing up Fowler, and he makes the catch. Runner tags. That's Goldschmidt from second to third. Chris Owings now the right fielder. 1 for 3 on the day with a pair of strikeouts.
This ball hit very hard by Descalso. Fortunately for the Cardinals, Fowler was there to make the play.
One out, first and third. Strike one.
That's the thing with the young pitcher too, Dan. You don't want to start out making him think he's superhuman. Just bring him along and bring him along and bring him along. But if you start out saying he's something special when you're trying to bring him along, then you're getting ahead of yourself.
Ground ball left side, slowly hit, gloved by DeYoung. The run will score. Cardinals now have allowed only 2 unearned runs all year.
You know what I mean, Dan?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
you know he's good. He throws 100 miles an hour and the ball sinks. But you just can't get ahead of yourself. He's still a 21-year-old pitcher. And until you do it for 10 years, until you're a 31-year-old pitcher, you're of the working class. And that's, to me at least, how you bring them along. It's tough not to get excited about him. I understand that. But you're still in the process of bringing him along. That's my spiel.
Alex Avila, the pinch hitter. A slider, ball one. That's the first time he's fallen behind the first pitch of any batter this appearance here today. So important, pitching ahead in the count. Strike one. But Norris is throwing in the Cardinals' pen. Tying run at the plate. 2 balls, no strikes.
Saw home plate umpire Mike Winters with the right shoulder and the right side wanting to call that a strike. Watch. When he goes up like that, he wants to call it a strike, but call it ball 2.
Three and 0.
I think if you're Torey Lovella, you let him hit here.
I was just going to ask you that. Green light?
I think so.
Get a fastball and try to square it up. Got the fastball taken high. And the second walk by Hicks. He's now up to 18 pitches, and that's the most he's had in a game so far. The major league level, former starter who was with Peoria this time last year. There's Jeff Mathis, 0 for 2, pair of strikeouts and a walk. And Molina wants to visit. Cardinals will be down to 2 mound visits after this. And the pitch is hit off the glove of Hicks. Wong to make the play. Diamondbacks pick up a run. It's 5-3 midway through 8. Chevy called to the pen Fernando Salas, 4th appearance. He was signed by the Cardinals all the way back in 2007. He was pitching in Mexico, signed a minor league free agent, and eventually made it to the big leagues with St. Louis in 2010. 2011, he saved 24 games in 30 opportunities for the championship club. And a strike to Marcell Ozuna. He was traded to the Angels with David Freese. Cardinals picked up Peter Borges and Randall Grichuk.
Peter Borges just signed a contract with the Atlanta Braves, right?
That's correct.
After being released from spring training.
2 balls, 1 strike. Ozuna is 2 for 3.
Excuse me, Dan. That was really a good play by Colton Wong, backing up the play off the glove of
Hicks.
Of Jordan Hicks, of course. So it was scored a 1-4-3, but a very, very good play by Colton Wong. You've seen that play messed up a bunch of times.
Two, base hit into center. 3-hit day for Ozuna. Let's take a look at our Nissan drive of the game with Jose Martinez coming up on an 0-2 pitch back in the 3rd. 2 runners on. Mistake by Greinke. He knew it. 3-run shot for Martinez. His 2nd of the year in our Nissan drive of the game. All 3 hits by Ozuna coming with 2 strikes. That has been one of the themes in this game. A lot of 2-strike base hits by St. Louis.
Ozuna's only out today was a bullet to center field that he hit back in the 5th inning. You mentioned this in New York about the quick hands of Ozuna. I think he showed it right there with that single more than any other swing that he's had all year. How he brings the arms in and the hands just explode through the ball. That's a rare skill. Guys are good hitters, maybe good hitters, but they don't do it exactly like Marcell Ozuna. He's different.
Slowly hit towards short. And the out. So Ozuna advances to second base. Molina is 2 for 3. Cardinals trying to get back that 3-run lead. Bud Norris continues to throw in the Cardinals pen.
There was a Bud Smith owner, wasn't it?
Bud Smith, left-handed pitcher.
Bud Smith, left-handed pitcher. Isn't there an owner of a football team named Bud Smith? It seems. No?
Bud Adams. Bud Smith was a lefty that threw a no-hitter against the San Diego Padres for the Cardinals.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Left on the bench that game was the great Tony Gwynn. He was working that game with Mike Shannon on radio. We kept on saying, well, Bruce Bochy's got that one weapon still to go when he wants to go to him, and that was Tony Gwynn.
And he never came in the game.
Eventually did, hit a rocket to short, and that was it. Here's Mike Shannon, your former teammate. Mike came into our booth very quiet today. Put it this way, you knew he was in the booth the minute he stepped in.
He had something to say today.
Oh boy.
He was in a rare mood. It's fun.
The 2-1 pitch to Yadier Molina. Ground ball. Hit to short. Ozuna to third. And 2 outs. Diamondbacks will have Ahmed, who's in the 9 position. Peralta and Marte coming up, looking ahead to the 9th. And here's Paul DeYoung.
One thing about Fernando Salas, he does throw that split finger fastball. For it to be effective, it has to be low. And often that pitch is a wild pitch or can squirt away from a guy like Jeff Mathis, the catcher. Not that one.
See Paul right now a little bit in between after that stretch of strikeouts. Oh, and 2. At times very streaky a year ago, but boy, when he gets on a good streak, watch out. Not only hits, but hits for power. One ball and 2 strikes. Strikeout of DeYoung. Just a little bit in between right now. Bud Norris, chance at a save when we come back. All right, guys, thank you. 33-year-old Bud Norris into the ball game, trying to pick up a save. He had 19 last year with the Angels.
The
so
only
Chevy called to the pen.
Dan, they were the only saves he's ever had in the major leagues. 19 saves in one season, and that was because Mike Scioscia, the manager of the Angels, had confidence in Bud Norris. And now that confidence has shifted to Mike Matheny.
Appeared in 60 games last year with the Angels. Nick Ahmed, 2-run lead for the Cardinals. First pitch hit out of play. You start thinking about guys like Leone and Norris potentially, you know, moving down to, let's say if a starter only gives you 5 innings, you're talking about the 6th, the 7th. And Gregerson, maybe Reyes. Certainly Greg Holland in save opportunities. Jordan Hicks. Bullpen. Yeah, Jordan Hicks. Cardinals can throw some arms at you. And as you talked about, rightfully so, this day and age of baseball, some starters only going 2 times through a lineup. Fouled back. Cardinals came in, the relievers, with 24 innings of work in 7 games. Amazingly, that ranks 20th. So it tells you how many other teams are going to their bullpen to get outs and innings to cover games.
Now that will not only continue, but there'll be more of that this year than any other year, in my opinion.
1 ball, 2 strikes. That's where we showed you the fewest pitchers per batter faced by relievers. The Cardinals second best right now. So if you're going to have to cover a lot of innings, you've got to be efficient. Going to run out of gas by the All-Star break. He went. Strikeout of Ahmed.
Called by first base umpire Tim Timmons. He is shaking his head to the dugout. But if you remember, it was Paul DeYoung up on Thursday night's game, and that ended the game on a check swing. Tim Timmons now looking at first base coach Dave McKay.
Peralta 0 for 3 with a walk and a run scored. 1 ball, 1 strike. That's 10 strikeouts in the lineup for the Diamondbacks today. And a fly ball lifted out to left, tailing near the corner. Ozuna runs out of room. One ball and 2 strikes.
It's a dangerous inning with Ketel Marte on deck and Paul Goldschmidt without a home run. Kind of an ominous sign he's in the hold, and would represent at least the tying run for the Diamondbacks should he hit in this inning.
Strikeout. No argument there from Peralta. Back-to-back Ks for Norris. Let's turn to our Budweiser player of the game. We'll take a better look at Michael Wacha and his day. 5 innings, 4 hits. Really a key, if you think about it. He walked 3 in the first inning. Bases loaded, only 1 out. He struck out Owings and then got the ground ball by Dyson. Could have been a terrible inning, but it turned out okay.
I thought it was an impressive mini comeback for Michael Wacha today. After a bad start, and he gathered himself and completed 5 innings very well, to his credit.
To your point, Marte here, and you do not want to face Goldschmidt with a chance to tie it. The Cardinals are one of 7 teams remaining in baseball without a save this year entering today.
Didn't know that.
One ball, 1 strike. Fans on their feet here at Busch. 2-strike hitting today. Arizona 1 for 16. The Cardinals 9 for 21. And that also a big difference in this game. Diamondbacks down to their final strike. Norris would love to end it. The 1-2. Fly ball lifted into right, and Goldschmidt will have that chance. On a 1-2 pitch, Marte doubles. And it brings up the tying run in Paul Goldschmidt.
All the outfielders reminded that on a ball hit to them, they go to second base. Marte tries to score, let him. Diamondbacks' 4th run is no good. The only guy that counts is the guy at the plate.
Reached on an error, walked, and also singled to right. Goldschmidt trying to extend this game to Pollock. Arizona 2 for 12 with runners in scoring position today. One ball, one strike.
Outfield deep for a reason. Try to, if Goldschmidt gets a hit, you want it in front of you. They're in a no doubles defense in the outfield. Playing a little deeper.
1-2, and again down to their final strike. Tyler Lyons up for the 2nd time just in case in the Cardinals bullpen. Here's a 1-2. And he struck him out. Norris strikes out this side. And the Cardinals take game number 2. They hold on by the final of 5-3 in a cold afternoon here at Busch.
Just a wonderful game from a Cardinal standpoint. And Bud Norris popping that 3rd